Kimberly, it's all nice what took place in Paris, this show of unity, but to me, is symbolism over substance. And the substance of the matter is Western countries are really, in reality, not doing about what is nothing short of an invasion by Islam, including radical Islam, in their countries.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd like to, note here, though, that as you mentioned, more than 4 million Westerners across Europe in total actually came out in some way, shape, or form and actually marched and showed their solidarity with France. I think that this could possibly be an Arab, a European awakening here, much like you saw with the Arab Spring. You're seeing the Europeans finally waking up to the fact that, these people have immigrated to their countries. They've established no-go zones. In France, they have 751 of them in total, and they really aren't all that nice to the other Europeans in the country that they've chosen to immigrate to. So I think that what you saw here, and you saw President Obama miss the photo op, the king who loves photo ops, missed the photo op of the decade here, and you saw the Europeans rally around one another, and I think really this is going to lead to some sort of European awakening where they're going to take care of these 751 no-go zones.
Well, I hope you're right, but I'm very doubtful about it because really, Kimberly, we've been here before. After 9/11, we had this hope that maybe there was going to be something done about what's happening with radical Islam, and look where we are. We're still fighting the, quote, conventional war on terror. More on that in a minute. But I want to go back to your comment about the neighborhoods in France. Somewhere around 10% of the population is now Muslim, and what France is doing, in my opinion, is suicidal. Right? They're allowing certain neighborhoods to be taken over completely by Sharia law. And this is insanity. This is the death of a culture.
Yeah, it is. And this is something that the Muslims have actually set out to do. They realize that if they go in, they take over a small portion of land, and then they set up their own little Sharia courts. They have, get married, they have lots of kids, and slowly but surely they are taking over. I think this is what the Europeans are faced with. And you are seeing that, they have been allowed to actually, incubate and grow. And we've seen radical terrorists come out of these no-go zones. Now, if you look at what's going on, I agree. We've been here before, and, the world's condemned these terrorist attacks time and time again. But for some reason, seeing 4 million people out marching sends a different message. And we have to remember that in Europe, they don't have as strong civil liberties as we do here, so they can go in relatively easy and break down these communities.
Right. They also don't have a Second Amendment, Kimberly, right? And there are more than 7 million illegal guns in France alone. Logically thinking here, France and other countries with strict gun control laws have got to start rethinking this because, as you know, you've been reporting, MI5 is saying, hey, listen, there's more to come, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a secret agent to figure out, hey, there's more coming because they want to destroy us.
Yeah, and I think that, we see this happening in Europe, but, it's going to happen here. Even, Senator Feinstein said over the weekend that, look, there are sleeper cells in this country, and she's the Democrats' highest, ranking intelligence commander here, and we're looking at a situation again where we have such porous southern borders that we know we've done stories on this in the past. They know they can exploit that. And to think that something that happened in France last week couldn't happen here, it ought to wake up America, because I'm telling you, that can happen here very, very easily. If it happens in a certain state over another, there may be people in the office that actually have weapons and would be able to fight back. But as in the case in France, there were no weapons. It wasn't a fight. It was going in and wiping out whoever was in the way of the bullet.
Right, but we don't want it to come down to that, right? You have these political geniuses like Howard Dean coming out and saying this was not Islamic terrorism. I mean, these mixed messages that this country, the United States, is sending to these terrorists is I think it is motivating them to continue on against us. And I think the culture, our culture, and the whole Western culture has to decide what to do here, and that's how to combat the war on terror, because clearly the way we're fighting it, which is a conventional war, is not working. It's my opinion, Kimberly, that we're in a crusade part 2. 920 years later, it is here again, and we're going to have to deal with it that way. And the way it was dealt with 920 years ago was with the sword back then, of course, but also with religion. And that's why it's been packaged wrong over the centuries in terms of retelling the story of the Crusades.
Yeah, I think we can all say that multiculturalism has kind of failed here. I mean, this is what the progressives have been preaching for a long time. We just are nice to someone and they'll be our friends. Well, that's not the case. It's not working out. We've been at war for more than 14 years in the Middle East. We keep expecting a different outcome. We keep attacking the problem the same way. I think moving forward, we're going to see, Saudi Arabia, we're looking at here, the king is in the hospital. They're going to have a change in power here, and you're going to have to see a younger generation kind of work together with leaders like al-Sisi in Egypt, who went straight to the religious clerics and said, look, we need to take care of this problem.
That's right.
It's our problem. And until we combat that here in the Middle East, we're going to continue to see our reputations thrown through the mud. And until the United States and other Western countries wake up to the fact that there are people that actually want to kill us just based on a radical thought process, and they could care less about any of the rest of friendship, they're going to do so. And until we take it head on and actually look at it and say, hey, this is what it is, this is how we got to get rid of it, or our way of life is forever changed. And our way of life has changed in the United States.
And what has to happen in my mind is a two-pronged attack, and that is downward pressure on the Muslim community to police itself, to do something about this.
Or
And
send them home.
And upward pressure from us, the United States military, to kill these people and get rid of them once and for all. Kimberly, thank you. Coming up next, the Obama free college.